What is up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 5 of the Hellcat Swap S10 build. On this episode, guys, we are finally going to set the motor in permanently. That means welding in finally the mounts, making sure that the angles are right, the degrees are right, welding in a transmission cross member. So finally, man, the motor is going to sit in its permanent location. Before we go any further, man, I want to thank each and every one of you guys who is along for the ride on this journey with us, man. I can't wait to take this car out for a ride and have some fun with it. But before that, we got to build it. So I appreciate each and every one of you who leaves a like, leaves a comment every time I put up one of these videos. This episode couldn't be possible without the help of our good friend Charles at Solo Man Motorsport. Check out the link in the description and give him a like, give him a subscribe to his channel.
I've gone ahead and removed the supercharger, taken some measurements, removed all the wiring off the firewall so there'll be no issues. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut right along the seam and remove all that back piece. And I'm gonna try to salvage it to see if I could then use some of it, or maybe I just have to make something new completely, but I'm gonna recess it in about an inch into the cab to give us clearance for all the piping that we need over here for the intercooler and all that good stuff. So I'm not gonna fool around with nothing with the cowl, so I'm gonna leave the cowl just as it is. I'm gonna work right under the cowl. Still factory firewall. Now I should go ahead and pull the motor and do the cut, but since the cut is above the motor, I'll probably be able to do it. And then inside, I'll just come with the die grinder and cut it inside. The reason why I haven't pulled the motor yet is because I'm waiting for my buddy to come by and give me a hand with, you know, putting the engine leveler back on and really setting the angle good so we could weld the motor mounts. But yeah, man, the steering is looking good. Exhaust is looking good. Mounts are coming right up. I just got to modify a little bit that firewall and we should be good. So there you have our slightly factor-ish firewall. Did the cut for it. Make sure there's not going to be no clearance issues with the supercharger, sensors, anything like that. Obviously, it's going to have a custom piece on there built, but yeah, looking good.
What's happening, brother?
What's going on, bud?
Not too much, man.
Been a minute since you've been here, huh?
Yeah.
Last time you were here, man, we set it in, man. But let me know what you think. Like, check this out. Did the steering on it. Got some headers. We were missing the alternator and stuff. But yeah, man.
Oh, that looks like it fit like it was made for it, man. Way better than I thought it'd be.
Crazy, right?
It's amazing how much work that's going to save us.
Yeah, a lot of time, man.
The headers fit good. The steering looks really well. Yeah, we'll get the mounts mocked up today, and then that way we can actually raise the motor up probably about a half an inch or so. See what clearance we need on it, but we'll get that lined out. And I brought my angle finder, so we'll see degree the motor in. Start burning in some motor mounts. Really want to just see kind of the pitch of the frame and then the pitch of the motor. It's a little farther back. We definitely need to, with raising the front up like this, we're gonna have to raise the back of the transmission up to level.
So lift up the transmission, so take the bolt out of the transmission?
Yeah, if we take the bolt out of the transmission, that's what I went underneath and looked. There's enough clearance in a tunnel. We can actually bring it up, that way we can set the correct angle on the motor. And then we can, if we need to, we can always put shims in the rear end to get the regular pinion angle for this. Once we get that kind of set up, then we'll have to pull the motor out, clean everything else, set the motor back down in. That way we can actually tack it in place, pull it back out, weld everything solid. It's multiple processes, a lot of in and out, but it's the only way to build a car. It's not like on TV where, you know, with editing, hey, look at this, here's a piece of metal, and suddenly 2 minutes later, everything's done.
Well, that's what I'm gonna have to do here, right?
I'm just lining this up off the backside. That way, once we put the bushing in, we can set the backside in, mock it up, and then we'll remove this, and then that way we can do the front. We'll weld a box, a plate here on the front, and that way the other support will just come right down through it.
Let the audience know why we're gonna do that versus like your traditional, you know, hang in there, clam mount, whatever.
The main reason we're doing this is just so a typical motor mount comes off and it's like a clam, so it shuts down on another piece on your frame. The only way to take a motor out, like most people, you have to move the motor up off the mounts, usually about 2 inches or so, before the motor can come forward to release off the transmission, off the dowel pins, and the torque converter. The way I like to do it is, because we don't have enough clearance, if we do it to where the front part can be removed, the back plate part is welded stationary, the motor literally will just go straight forward and release off the dowel pins and cross member and the transmission. Everything will just come straight forward without having to go up. It just makes it easier for clearance for removal.
So now that we have basically gone up and down, in and out, done a bunch of stuff to try to find this angle, we have settled at, what is it, 3 degrees?
3.1 degrees
3.1.
is what the motor is going to be set at right now. All we have to do is center line it, but the motor is at the angle, transmission's at the angle, everything's set where we need it. Before we burn the actual motor mounts to the frame, we will center line the crank and make sure it is square in the truck. But this is the height, the angle, everything's set up. So now we have to alter some really nice motor mounts that Victor got in. And quality on these are really good. I'm really impressed with them. But obviously they are a lot taller than we need since we're doing a custom application. We have to customize. Just marked out, if you look, I'm moving this cup up 1 inch. So I'm gonna actually splice and bring this out. So that way I can actually move this cup up and re-weld it back in here, bolt it back on the block, and then we can make our side plates that will actually go down and weld to the frame itself.
Guys, and speaking of these motor mounts, these were made like a universal mount to swap in like a Mopar, older Mopar, Hellcat Swap It. So that's where they made these engine mounts. And these guys are actually from Canada. I'm gonna show you guys who they are. It's Paul Horton Welder Series. And this is what they got. They got their engine mounts for Gen 3, 5, 7, 6, 1, 6, 4. Super nice welds, super clean. I mean, we gotta modify them, unfortunately, but that's what it is. Charles went and modified it. You can see he trimmed it, cut it to perfection. Here is the cup fit finish. So yeah, we're gonna mock these up, mark them, weld them in.
The way this will work, will obviously, the same plate like this go on the bottom or on the back side, and then L it, weld this one permanently attached. That way, like we talked earlier, the motor can go forward. So what we're gonna do on this side is, all right, now I'm just looking to where this gets welded on, but this flat plate, we will weld a nut in the frame, drill a hole in this front plate, and that way this front plate will actually be able to bolt in and out so the motor can come forward. Getting ready to tack these in place. I'll probably take them to my house and TIG them in. But first just gotta go with our alignment marks. So that way we know where we're setting this at. Nice. Tack it in place and we'll be good to go. We took some basic measurements. We tacked the modified mounts on the motor itself. So now we're gonna pull the motor out, clean the frame, the cross member completely off.
All right guys, so this is the first time we pulled it back out and we cleaned up the frame, exactly where these mounts are gonna go. So hopefully we set it back in, tack some stuff up, take it right back out, tack some more stuff up, and then finally weld it all in. But it's trial and error, man, and you know, just time consuming. I'm gonna put a big flat screen TV right there so I could watch while I'm racing. So just like TV time, guys, Charles went back home, welded the mounts solid. Now he's putting them back on, and we got his welder over here. So instead of driving the truck, well, not driving, towing the truck over to Charles's house to burn these motor mounts in, we're gonna do it all in the garage. I see you tacking a bunch of stuff, you welding all that good stuff. So Charles, what do we got going on?
Basically we finally got the motor centered, leveled, all the angle, 3 degrees on the motor like it should be. Tacked in that motor mount over there. We just cut, which Victor took care of that for us. Cut and set it up, and we have a plate on the frame we're tacking in, and the back mount, we're gonna tack that in place and then start the front plate after that. Pull the motor out, weld everything solid. We have everything looks like done. I believe everything should be good to go. So just making a little brace that will sit down on the frame and locate the front part of the mount.
Nice little custom bracket. We got some custom brackets here too. Motor sitting in, man. About to pull it out once again and burn those mounts in permanently.
Welder and a little bit of effort, you can make just about anything happen, really. This way, removable motor mounts that are solid and secure. Like there.
So there we got the mounts tagged, getting ready to burn them in. We're gonna put these in permanently, and then there's really no turning back unless we cut that all damn thing out, right?
That's it. It's definitely a Hemi Gen 3 S10 now.
Yep. It's official.
So now that the mounts are fully welded, I'm gonna put a little makeup on them.
So now that we've gone ahead and dulled our motor mounts and brackets, we're gonna go ahead and put the motor back in and start to fab up a transmission cross member. Try to use the factory one and see how we could work it to our advantage. And then at the same time, do a final mock-up on the firewall. And then obviously pull the motor back out and start working on closing up that firewall. All right, guys, so the mounts are permanently in, welded, in place, tightened down, bolted down. Both sides done. So guys, now that we got all the mounts in, the next job is to put in the transmission cross member and modify it, make it, whatever that's gonna take. But that's gonna be on the next video, on the next episode. So guys, I appreciate you taking the time and watching this. Always remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And always remember, love God, love family, love racing. See you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.